So good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the 5th annual Global Power Plant Lab Bootcamp. This is a very exciting event for me. AK, hopefully you can hear me. Everybody online can hear me. Maybe give me a thumbs up. There's one thing that Michael forgot to say. If you have any questions about licensing, you ask Michael. Don't ask us. Over the years, we've done a few Power Platform bootcamps here in Wellington, and we've changed the format. I think last year we did a hands-on lab type of exercise. This year is going to be more around showing you how to build things rather than do a lab-driven event. But if you want to try them, by all means, feel free to do that in parallel. Most of the things that we're going to show you are relatively easy to do, and you'll have enough information during the sessions to actually go through them. In Wellington specifically, we're going to focus this year on Copilot. So we've seen a lot of announcements throughout the year at Ignite and Build and other conferences where Copilot is front and center and lots of investment happening in that space. There's a lot of discussions in the market about whether Copilot is the way for us or not. And yes, it does have room for the businesses in New Zealand, but it's up to you to decide where you want to use it. And we'll show you a few cases where it can significantly improve your productivity and help you build applications. Now, one thing to note, don't be worried that Copilot's soon going to be self-aware, is going to take over your job and all of that. It's not going to happen, at least not anytime soon, based on all the experiences that we have with Copilot. So anyway, let's move on with the slides. Okay, so this year we've reached more than 100 locations where we're doing the Power Platform Bootcamp. And that's quite an amazing thing. We've got a couple of us in New Zealand doing it, so Auckland and Wellington. Christchurch, unfortunately, couldn't help us. If you look in Europe, there's actually quite a lot of different places doing it, especially in Spain. They've got 14 cities in Spain where they're doing the bootcamp. So that's actually quite impressive. Quite popular sort of in the sort of Central Americas area. Not so much in the US, which is a bit surprising, but also in Africa, there's quite a lot of people doing it, which is amazing because we need to reach places where there's new talent and there's hunger for people to actually be building those applications and so on. And in fact, talking about reaching new markets, the stats are looking really good. So with the Power Platform, we have 33 million people actively using it on a monthly basis. And 25% of those people are pro developers and they love cutting code. And this is one thing that I like about the Power Platform is that businesses love it because it provides you with this low-code, no-code option where you can rapidly develop stuff. But at the same time, if you want to go beyond that, you do have your JavaScript capabilities where you can enhance the front end. You do have your C# capabilities where you can do server-side development and so on. And also it has all those native connectors to the Azure ecosystem where you can extend it beyond that and go through, Azure apps or function apps or webhooks or even use APIM and things like that. So quite diverse, and someone who is, built a career around the Microsoft ecosystem, they would find themselves in a very nice place. So both, developers, configurators, consultants love using it, customers love it. So it's the perfect balance of both of those. And, Microsoft is also going beyond that. So, maybe about 15 years ago, Microsoft was all closed. You can only do Microsoft stuff. You cannot go beyond Microsoft and so on. But that mentality has changed, especially around when Satya Nadella has joined. I think he's recently celebrated the 10 years as a CEO, I think. Yeah. So it's been a while. And, I've got a lot of respect for Satya Nadella because especially in, late last year when there was this whole Sam Altman and ChatGPT and all of that shenanigan, and he really could control the entire market. And then just by making, simple decisions, he could see the entire market shift from one place to the other, the Microsoft stock going all the way up to a record high and so on. So he really knows what he's doing and where he wants to focus his attention. But one of the philosophies that they're following is to be able to connect to a wide range of different systems. And that's why they constantly encourage building those custom connectors to outside systems. So from Dynamics 365, you can connect to Salesforce, you can connect to marketing applications, you can connect to Zoom, and just go beyond what Microsoft provides and go into the competitor territory and be able to do that. And I'll show you how you can actually leverage those connectors in your Copilot today. So that will be an interesting exercise. So as I said, the Power Platform provides you with a range of different capabilities. So from an app modernization, and when I say app modernization, it doesn't necessarily mean that it looks nice and pretty and fresh. It does give you that for sure with the model-driven apps and the Canvas apps. But also it provides you with a modern backend where everything is cloud-driven and managed by Microsoft, and gives you that flexibility to actually do quite a lot of things, and provides you with the option to build line of business applications or very specific niche applications for your organization, provides a pro developer experience to extend it beyond what it can do, and then provide a positive experience for the employees and your departments. But also Microsoft focuses a lot on automation. So we all use Power Automate. We love Power Automate, Power Automate Desktop as well, if you want to sort of automate some of those mundane tasks and so on. So yeah, there's quite a lot of capabilities in there. Now, the next slide is one of my favorite slides. So they say that, by 2025, there'll be 750 million applications written using the Power Platform. And we'll have a shortfall of 4 million consultant in that space. Yay for us. This is us. And this is what those events are there for, is to educate the community about what you can do with the Power Platform and how you can be one of those 4 million. Imagine if you're competing with nobody and there's like 4 million positions out there. Like, yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, that puts us in a very good space. And I must say, in a way, I feel blessed that I am in that space. And it didn't happen because, when I was 5 years old, I was like, I want to do Power Platform, and this is how I want to build my career. But it just happened by pure luck. And I was just there at the right time, the right moment, and then, all of that flourished and became very popular. And there's also a lot of focus on those low-code applications. In fact, I'm going to be doing a session. I don't know if it's going to be streamed or not, but I might do it again in Wellington. I'm doing a session on PowerFX and how PowerFX is actually becoming such an important part of the Power Platform that a lot of the work that we used to do as custom development, as writing code and so on, now can be done with low-code formulas. So even the era of plugins. Some of the plugins that I've written in my life are really simple. I'm like, I wish I had a one-liner that I can put in there and avoid the registration of plugins and DLLs and compiling and all of that. Well, now this is available with PowerFX. So yeah, there's that focus on, if you can do it using low-code, do that. And that will save you a lot of time and money, but also it will do exactly the same thing. So this is one of the things that we're going to talk about. But if you've watched Ignite last year, you will notice that there was not a lot of focus on low-code, and almost to the point where they can say low-code is dead. Charles Lamanna was talking about the Power Platform, Canvas, and all of that as legacy applications. I'm like, hang on. What do you mean legacy application? I'm just learning it, right? I just got on top of it, and now it's legacy. But I think what the focus is that now they're starting to leverage AI as a capability to build the applications that you want to have in the future, and then use Copilot to support you in the implementation of that. So from 1993 till 2023, they were talking about building applications the old conventional way, where you start with a data layer and then you have an interface on top of that, and then it's basically forms on top of your database, and then write your application, so on. And then towards the end, they were focusing more on, don't worry too much about writing code, JavaScript, C#, ASP.NET, and all of that, but focus more on the low-code capabilities, where we provide you a platform to do all of that. And now in 2024, they're talking more about using Copilot, using the power of the Power Platform to help you build those applications. And I guess this is what the theme of today's session is going to be about, is how can we actually use Copilot to help us build those applications. Now, there's always room for the old conventional way of doing things if you want certainty and you want to ensure that it will work in a specific way. but Copilot will help you get there a little bit faster. And in fact, right after Ignite, in one of our MVP channels, we're like, I missed out on Ignite. But what did they say? And then I did that meme and I said, that's exactly what Microsoft is thinking, that the future is Copilot. Yes, low code is there, but it's not the sexy thing that we're looking at the moment. Right. Okay. So as I said, when it first started, and I remember James Phillips once made a talk at the MVP Summit. That was probably a good 8 years ago, definitely pre-COVID. He was talking about how things are evolving. And before, as I said, we had forms on top of data. And then everything was on premise. And then a good 15 years ago, then they started talking about cloud. And if you don't know cloud, then you're behind and all of that. And then people got scared. It's like, I need to learn cloud. I need to be able to do something about it and so on. And yes, applications did evolve and started getting offered as software as a service layers on top of the usual interfaces that we have. That was a natural evolution. But again, there was room for on-premise. There's room for cloud. Even today in New Zealand, there's room for on-premise due to some legislation, and there's room for cloud. So that's all good. And then what they started doing on top of that is improving that experience of building the actual application. So making it easier with low code, with Power Apps, Canvas apps, and so on. And now comes the era of actually using Copilot to help you do all of that work. So the evolution is actually quite interesting over the years to see how we started with, pure on-premise and then writing everything manually, more or less, to having more cloud services and then full managed cloud options, and then now using Copilot to finish that bit at the end. Cool. Now, talking about Copilot, there's actually quite a lot of organizations, the hundreds of thousands, that are currently using Copilot to improve their productivity. Now, Copilot comes in two flavors, especially in the Power Platform. Today, the first half of the day, we're going to see Copilot used from a maker experience. So how it would help people build those applications faster. But then on the second half of the day, we're going to see how Copilot is used from an end user perspective. So a recipient, someone who's actually using the system on a day-to-day basis, not necessarily to develop it, but to do their work, and how Copilot is going to be available there to provide them with the support that they need. So yeah, things are progressing. And then this is adding to the excitement of the Power Platform with a growth of 40% from year to year, where people really want to use the Power Platform. So Copilot in the context of, let's say, Power Automate and Power Apps, it significantly increases your velocity of creating Power Automates. I think we will have a session this afternoon where we'll use Copilot to create some Power Automates. And that shows you that there is that increase of productivity. It comes in really handy when you maybe remember how to do it, but you don't know the exact syntax, or you don't know the connectors that you want to use. And you can just simply use natural language to say, hey, I want to do this, and then it will do it for you. And that increases the general feedback on how well Power Automate works and so on. From a Power Apps perspective, there's more success in getting your apps right, to getting the right thing, doing the right thing. And also, again, it's all about this prompt the development. And there's a lot of statistics about how prompt development is basically the future of development. And I was playing around with it yesterday, even though it's not my session. But when you go to Canvas apps, for example, you can have a Copilot assistant over there. And you can say something like, change the font to orange. We'll go and change the font to orange everywhere in your app. If you want it in somewhere specific, you can just click on it. You can tell it what you want it to do. Make the font bold, or change the font size and all of that. And it will do it for you. And that will reduce the number of clicks that you have to go through, and the knowledge on how to do it and so on. My session is going to be in the afternoon, and maybe I'll talk about the agenda in a second. But I'll be talking about how Copilot can help Copilot Studio specifically, or what used to be our virtual agent, can help people retrieve information from a website, for example, or a PDF. And I find that very useful. So just at the end of in a couple of weeks, I'm actually traveling to an MVP summit in the US. And I'm also going to be in Vancouver. And I wanted to catch the train from Vancouver to Seattle. And I'm like, do they allow luggage? Like, I don't know what is my allowance? Like, do I have to buy it separately and so on? And then for someone who's using the website for the first time, I'm like, I don't know where to click. I don't know where to go to. And I'm like, they must have a chatbot somewhere where you can go and say, hey, what is the luggage allowance? And then we'll go and give you the answer straight away. It becomes such an integral part of our day-to-day expectations when we're interacting with websites, where those chatbots actually gather information from all around the website and put them in one place where it stops you from navigating around, figuring out what needs to be done. Now, there's another story about that I'll talk about later, but I don't want to steal my own thunder. Right, okay. And yeah, so generally speaking, using Copilot and Power Apps makes it way more productive to build those apps. As per the stats in here, 80% faster than building apps on top of Excel files. So yeah, that shows you how impactful it is. Copilot is becoming GA across the globe. In most areas, it is on by default. In some areas, you have to opt in to go and use it. So quite often, if you go into your instance and you realize, hang on, I can't see any Copilot options, most of the time it's just a little toggle that you have to go and switch on. And that's the experience that I had when I was looking at my DXC instance, and I was sort of looking at, all the examples that you can find on YouTube and online and the documentation. It's like, how come they have that Copilot button and I don't? And all it is that it's just that little toggle that you have to go and enable for your environment. Or if you're using Canvas apps, then there's also a little toggle that you have to go into the features and say, enable your Copilot in that application. So yeah, it's becoming GA. Supported by Microsoft. And in fact, Microsoft, and probably you've seen that at Ignite. And again, when they were announcing Copilot, straight away, I created that meme with Oprah Winfield going, Copilot for you, Copilot for you. Everybody gets Copilot. And that's literally it. Like, they infusing Copilot everywhere. It's actually quite a wide range of varieties where they use the same formula, the same foundation, but then in a different context. And that really gives you that familiarity on how to use it, and also sets the expectation that no matter where you go, if you need assistance, that assistance is going to be there. Now, today, given that this is the Power Platform Bootcamp, we're going to be focusing specifically on this area here. So from a Power Platform perspective, looking at Power Pages, Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI even, and I'll do Copilot Studio. And then after that, there may be a session, maybe I think AK will do a session this morning, just talking about the Dynamics 365 and using it from an agent perspective. So yeah, a Copilot experience for every Microsoft cloud, basically, with a focus today on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. And that gives you a nice sort of foundation on how all of that works and so on. So next, there's a little video from Charles Lamanna. He's the vice president at Microsoft that looks after the entire Power Platform. So he is the man, and that's addressed specifically to you. So hopefully the technology works. Let me make sure it's loud enough, and then hopefully you will start talking. So.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Lamanna, and I'm the Corporate Vice President for Business Applications and Platforms here at Microsoft. My team is responsible for building the Power Platform. And I'm incredibly honored to get this chance to welcome all of you to the Global Power Platform Bootcamp, where we have a chance to come together as a community and members to learn the latest and greatest hits as it relates to the Power Platform. If you look at what makes the Power Platform so special right now in 2024 is the fact who it enables and how it enables development across the organization. Business users or citizen developers are now able to participate in digital transformation. If you can describe a problem or use a visual designer, business users in sales and finance and marketing and HR can do, then you're able to use the Power Platform to create amazing solutions. Additionally, if you're a professional developer and you're used to writing code and deploying services, you can now add the Power Platform to your tool belt and build solutions faster than ever before. This idea of a single platform that goes across the entire company, that makes it possible for business users, IT professionals, and coders to collaborate together to create solutions, is a game changer for every organization and every user. At a time where we all need to find ways to be more efficient and to scale our businesses and respond to highly dynamic work environments, Power Platform makes it possible by changing the economics and unlocking all kinds of new developers inside the company. And we've been at this journey for a while. The Power Platform, we first started to release its capabilities 6 or 7 years ago. We coined the term Power Platform in low code about 5 years ago. And now over 45 million people every month are using the Power Platform, creating automations with Power Automates, creating web and mobile applications with Power Apps, exploring data with Power BI, creating websites with Power Pages, or using Copilot Studio to go create amazing AI solutions. And speaking of AI, we are at this incredibly unique point in time where generative AI is changing what's possible with software and redefining how humans interact with computer interfaces. Instead of just being able to write code or use a visual designer to drag and drop build things, we can now use natural language. We can use pictures. We can use examples. We can use metaphors to create applications, to automate processes, to explore data. And at Microsoft, of course, we've rallied around this idea of Copilot as the best way and easiest way to expose generative AI capabilities. We made it possible for all of you to use Copilot while you create solutions in the Power Platform, so you can go faster than ever before. And we've really pushed the envelope about what's possible with natural language inside of our products. Probably the best example being in Power Automate, where you can just describe the workflow or automation you want to create. We will automatically create it for you behind the scenes using a fine-tuned and highly customized version of GPT. So all of this comes together, the single platform for the whole company, from business users to coders and IT in between, to make it possible so AI can unlock even more solutions for our creators and makers. Now, if we look at what the Bootcamp is really trying to help, is to paint this picture and show how all of this starts to fit together. And the exciting bit for me, the product team, is that this is only the beginning. It's early in 2024, but we are making the largest investments in the history of Microsoft in the Power Platform as we go forward, which means a ton of new innovation. So a year from now, we'll come back and there'll be hundreds, if not thousands, of new capabilities to make Power Platform stretch to new and interesting ways, to use Copilot to create solutions in new and exciting ways, and all of this coming together to make it faster and easier to create and deliver business value with the Power Platform. So the Power Platform is just this amazing asset for us that's getting even more exciting with AI and Copilot, and we're pouring on the investments and the creativity to go define the next generation of all of this based on this AI reality. I think it all begins with expanding skills and teaching and ramping up others on how to use the tools that are already out there, because that's the best way for all of you to give us feedback about where to go and where we can expand and improve. So thank you so much for making the time. Thank you so much for coming together. And I can't wait to see how the Bootcamp lands and what we're all learning as we go through the process. Thanks, and have a great rest of the day.
So when he said, this is just the beginning, it gives me goosebumps. I'm like, wow, we've got so much to play with. And then, customer love that product. And that's just the beginning. So I'm really excited to see what else is coming this year. Obviously, I'm assuming there will be a lot of investment in the AI and Copilot space as well. But, MVPs, usually we work closely with the product team, and they are definitely not neglecting the other side of the platform, in terms of enhancing its capabilities, in terms of providing new rich features, modernizing, and so on. So, yeah, watch that space. Certainly lots to learn about. All right, so the schedule for today, this is the keynote session at around 10 o'clock, so we're just getting there. Mark is going to start by doing a session on Copilot with Power BI and Power Pages as well, just to see how we can sort of leverage some of that capability. Now, as I said, it was supposed to be more on the maker side of things. So Mohan was supposed to do a session at 11 o'clock and talk about Power Apps and Power Automate, but he's switching with AK. So AK will do a session in the morning to talk about, how to, Copilot being a sidekick to a super agent, talking more on the Dynamics 365 space and the end user capability. After that, we'll have our lunch break, and in the afternoon, I'll do my Copilot Studio session, just showing you how easy it is to actually build it and extend it and how it has improved significantly from Power Virtual Agent. And then Eliza, just left the room, is going to do 5 tips on how to build a good Copilot Studio with Microsoft Copilot Studio. And then finally, Mohan will do his session on Dataverse and Power Automate, and then we'll close at around 4 o'clock. So easy day. Not a lot of stress. Enjoy it. If you have any questions, come and ask us. If you need clarification or anything, we're here to help. Feel free to share on social media. Just use hashtag GPPB 2024. And yeah, if you make a buzz about it, there'll be, throughout the next 24 hours, they'll be making a buzz across the world on this event. So that's all good. There's a couple of international sponsors. Thank you, Microsoft, for providing us with the venue and the food. And yeah, there's some sponsors that are helping in other places. So unless you have any other questions, have a great day. And I'm going to hand over to Mark.